Hello, and welcome back to the Product-Led Festival. A big thank you to our partners and speakers for helping us feature amazing content over the 3 days, looking at the core building blocks of product-led growth, from discovery and experimentation to metrics and measurement and everything in between. A quick reminder to join our Slack channel to interact with other attendees and join selected speakers for Q&A. You can find the link in the menu at the top of this page. Enjoy the festival.
Hi, everybody. Thanks so much for joining my talk today. I'm here to discuss the myths of SMB tech, small and medium-sized businesses. And my name is Ron Fisher, and I was the co-founder of Bowtie.ai, a company that was acquired by Mindbody a year ago. Mindbody, if you guys are not aware, was a public company. It was recently acquired by Vista and services about 65,000 wellness, fitness, and health businesses all around the world. So I'm really excited to share with you today what I've learned about the space, both being a co-founder in it and also during my time at Mindbody subsequently. And hopefully it'll be eye-opening for you guys, just seeing a lot of the preconceived notions that people have about the space and how you too could find success if you're interested in diving into SMB tech, which I highly recommend to anybody who is looking to start a startup or a new product for a new space. And so just to take a step back, again, my name is Ron Fisher. I was the CEO of Bowtie. Here are my two co-founders, Mike Wang and Vivek Siddharsan. And what we had developed was an artificial intelligent receptionist that was ensuring that businesses never miss a customer. So if you called a doctor or a salon or a sweat lodge or any type of appointment-based business, our AI would text you back and would convert that customer to a paying customer with a booking on the calendar. So that was something really appealing to Mindbody, which is the reason they acquired us. And so, if we take a look at the state of SMBs, how big are they really? You might think that they are a very small percentage of the US population, and you'd actually be wrong. So 99% of US businesses that are registered are small businesses, according to the census, and they employ 50% of the US workforce. And the last thing that you might be surprised to learn is that 30 million small businesses, there are actually 30 million small businesses in the US, 1.9 million of which are actually owned by Black Americans. They are the largest growing minority group in the past 5 to 6 years, I found out. So if you're looking for a way to really impact that community, then SMB tech could be a really powerful way to do that as well. That's about 1.9 million for Black Americans. And so what does the market think about SMB tech today, right? What do they think about the customers that we are servicing in small and medium-sized businesses, right? People have this conceived notion that, they're not tech forward, they're all pen and paper, they're allergic to technology, they're not interested in whatever it is that you're developing. People think that they're cheap, right? That they're gonna be willing to pay $10 a month for whatever it is that you created, or $100 up front for whatever it is that you built. They're hard to reach, right? They're never in the store, or they're never by the phone, or maybe they don't even have a phone. That's a lot of the things that we heard when we were talking to investors. And it's something that you often read about when people talk about SMBs and how they're allergic to technology. And then last thing is that they're needy and opinionated, right? There's a saying that goes, that somebody's paying you $1,000 a month is just as loud as somebody's paying you $10 a month. And that's true, but even more so, they think that SMB owners are extra sensitive in terms of needing more support, being more vocal when using your product. And we're going to talk about why that actually might not be such a bad thing in a few minutes. And so that must mean, with all of those notions about what SMBs are like, that there must not be that many success stories. Well, obviously that's wrong based on the name of my talk. But the idea here is that you see, this is the SMB Tech Index by GGV Capital. Since 2010, over $200 billion in market value has been created for companies that have been exclusively or nearly exclusively focused on the SMB tech space. So from Mindbody to Shopify to Square, Wix, GoDaddy, RingCentral, you could just see there's been an explosion in technology to specifically service these types of clients. When one would have normally said, there's no way you can build a big business on top of the backs of thousands or hundreds of thousands of small merchants and brick and mortar businesses. And so this is really a sea change, right? And there's three parts to it. So one is it's relatively new, and we could talk about why that's the case. In the past 10 years, all of these companies have really sprung up and exploded. Two, a majority of their revenue is coming from non-enterprise. So this is a huge advantage to these businesses because they're not dependent. Their product is not dependent on any single customer to potentially ruin their balance sheet, right? They're really distributed across thousands and thousands and thousands of customers. And third of all, they're not all just serving every single type of SMB. They're also really focused on sub-verticals as well. So Mindbody's health and wellness. Toast is a POS, point of sale system focused on restaurants. And we also have Etsy, for example, focused on craft makers. And so I really wanted to bring in, how the world is changing today, because it actually is having a significant impact on SMB and SMB tech, and again, not in a way you might have expected. So we see here, many companies have been pushing off any sort of digital transformation, digital change, or the urge to adopt new processes and tools and products to make their business better, right? But COVID-19 has changed all of that. How do I know that? Let's just take one example. Let's look at Shopify's market cap that has skyrocketed since coronavirus. Has gone from 40 billion to 8 billion, 81 billion in a matter of months. And keep in mind, in 2018, they were an $11 billion market cap company. That's an 8 times increase for a company that's almost exclusively focused on servicing small and medium-sized businesses. What does that tell you? That this opportunity, this space is enormous. Now that I have your attention, who are these SMB owners really? And this is talking from my own experience, being in the weeds, co-developing this product, being on the front line of the sales. What is it really like to actually work with these people? So first thing is, these owners are ready to spend on technology that will help their business. They really want products that make a difference for them every day. And the thing is, they've been burned so many times by so many people who've come through their doors telling them that they're gonna, give them 1,000 new customers, or here's 50 new leads, and just deliver nothing. But the point is, they're always open to trying something new, and they actually are much more open to new technology than you think. And these statistics on the right are actually based on pre-COVID mentality. So this has probably gone up even more, but 54% of businesses with less than 500 employees were planning on buying new technology, and we're planning to buy software in 2019. And then another study said 66% of those businesses were intending to buy new software as well. So really high numbers in terms of the millions of businesses, at least in the US, that are open to spending on tech. Secondly, what people do not realize about this space is that they're very quick to decide. So if you think about when you put your product in front of an enterprise leader, that could be a 6 month to a year sales cycle. With SMBs, if the product sings, if it's clear, right? If you're a real good product-led organization where your product is basically speaking for itself in a lot of ways, you can, on one screen share and a 15-minute phone call, close that client on a year-long contract. And we've seen that firsthand with Bowtie. It also happens with Mindbody. And it's something really amazing because you're talking to the owner, right? They're the sole controller of the budget. She or he is going to make that decision on the spot if your product is really clear in its value proposition. And yes, they are a little needy and loud, but to me, that's actually a really good thing. Why? Because they care, right? This isn't some VP of an enterprise company that, just wants to go home at 5 p.m. And collect their bonus, right? This is somebody who started their business because they were passionate about something, most likely, or they saw an opportunity in the market, but this is what they're living and breathing. This is their life and their soul. And if they care about your product and they're complaining all day and night about your product, that means they actually see value in what your product is bringing, and they are going to make your product better. We've had customers who would be texting us, personally day and night about things that were broken with our receptionists that actually made the product much better for the hundreds and thousands of people that used it later. So in terms of the product design, I wanted to focus on that, as this is a talk about being product-led, why SMB tech is really ideal for the product-led startup. And so if we take a step back and talk about what product-led design is, normally You have all these different branches of your company that are focused on doing whatever they need to do, right? But with product-led design, all of those different branches from sales, marketing, customer success, engineering, design kind of fall to the wayside in terms of being siloed, and they all focus on making a kick-ass product, right? The kick-ass product that's going to shine, that's going to be able to scale, that's going to just naturally attract a ton of users, and that will generate a flywheel effect for that company. And then once you have that kick-ass product, right, it's going to have an amazing user experience where all of the different pieces of the company are feeding into it in order to tackle the user's problems and make a real difference in that bottom line for that customer. And so what makes that product-led experience unique when designing for SMBs? Well, it's a few different pieces. So one is the long tail is only getting fatter, right? So the idea here is if we look at Shopify, again, for example, they had 42,000 merchants in 2012. Today, they have over 1 million. And the point is that whether you're servicing brick and mortar or e-commerce, there's just an explosion of these. Mindbody, for example, also got a huge burst of business after the recession in 2008 because all those empty storefronts actually became boutique fitnesses. And all those business owners who were unemployed went into the health and wellness space. And so Mindbody was able to ride that boom for a very long time. What the COVID-19 pandemic is going to result in, no one knows for sure, but I can tell you it will result in a boom of either an existing or new type of business that SMB tech can very much take advantage of. And the other side of it is in terms of these new e-commerce direct-to-consumer players, one could say, what is a startup in that situation and what is SMB company? Sometimes the line is blurred, right? There's all these products coming out all the time, all these people who are starting their companies, whether that's Montauk Beer or Recess Drinks or Away Luggage, right? Those companies in a way are very much SMB in that they're focused on one product and scaling that product with a customer brand very much in terms of who the Shopify customer is. And so, for example, when you're designing for the SMBs, I really want you to know that when you're designing your product, you don't necessarily want to do it for everybody, right? You want to focus on the segment of SMBs that is going to make a huge difference. So with Bowtie and our receptionist, we had the choice of going a lot of different directions. We had a lot of different SMB subsegments coming after us and saying, we really want your receptionist. And we were at a crossroads in that time deciding, hey, do we want to try to make this AI receptionist as broad as possible to cover all these different types of SMBs? Because you know what, maybe the SMB market isn't big enough. We didn't do that. We actually really focused on one segment, beauty and wellness and health, and really made our product amazing for those customers, tailored our marketing for those customers, made our website really sing for those customers. And that is what made the difference in terms of attracting the company's attention, Mindbody, that would later acquire us. And so for all of you that are thinking of potentially diving into the SMB space, I say, don't be afraid to pick one subsegment of the SMB to actually go for and make an amazing, amazing, amazing product. And with that, once you pick that segment, it'll actually be easier for you to iterate in SMB. And the reason for that is because your purchaser is your user, right? In an SMB sale, right? The marketing, the sales, the customer success, and the engineers, the product team, right, are all interacting with literally sometimes the same person who's using the product, is paying for the product, is seeing your ads. And that's not the case with enterprise, right? With enterprise, very much often you'll have the VP or the CTO or the CIO buying the product, right? And then having the analyst or the salesperson or whoever it is in their organization using the tool. So there's like a break between the purchaser and the user, and that could lead to a slower feedback loop for iteration that you would be missing out on that you actually get with SMB tech. The next point is really around the design of the product itself. So because SMB owners aren't necessarily the most tech forward people in the world, although obviously that's quickly changing, your B2B product needs to be basically as simple and easy to use as a consumer product. And this is something that's actually going to be really good for your business because it's going to make it easy to scale, easy to onboard people, easy to do customer success, easier to market. And focusing on having a simple and frictionless experience becomes that much more important, specifically with SMB tech. And then lastly here, we have the time to value. And the idea here is with SMBs, because they do have a limited budget, you're going to be on the clock right away. And so one thing I recommend is standing on the shoulders of as many giants as you can. For example, with Bowtie, we plugged into the API of MindBody immediately to start servicing businesses. They didn't need to do anything with their menu or their staff or anything to get going. Same thing with Shopify. If you look at their partner store, there's so many different startups that are building their products on top of the Shopify API. And you want to think about how can my product, what part of my product can deliver value to someone the first day they sign up, the first 2 weeks they sign up. Because the longer it is that it's going to take for them to see anything with the product, the shorter their likelihood, the less the likelihood is that they're going to actually stick with your product. And so I took a step back here to talk to you guys about how to grow your product once you have your product figured out, once you have your client base figured out, once you're really moving and shaking with growing your business. And so here's the kind of the 3 points that I think are really salient for all of you thinking about the space. Firstly, you want to find the customers who are willing to pay for it. You might think, they don't have the budget, again, that maybe we should do free trials. Once they do the free trial, they're definitely going to convert. And that's something I should tell you should not do. If you value your product, if you're a true product-led organization, you have to charge these people upfront because it gets skin in the game, it gets them to care, it gets them to invest in you and in the product and really pay attention to you from day one. Secondly, whatever sub-vertical or space you pick, it's really important to target the brand leaders and the luminaries in your space within the SMB domain. There's a lot of fragmentation within the SMB space, but there are leaders in each category, right? Whether that's health or restaurants or e-commerce that everybody looks to. And if you get those people onto your product, that's going to make a huge difference. And then lastly, I recommend in terms of how the marketing and the sales feeds into your product-led organization, you really want to tailor your sales material, tailor the demo, tailor the product when you showcase it for every single business that you interact with. And whether that's, even if it's a 15-minute conversation that you're going to have with that person, if you put their logo in, or if you use something from their menu, or if you mention one of the things you saw on their website, like that's going to make a huge difference when you present your product, and if you make that product alive for that business. And so, of course, a great product is table stakes for your organization. It's table stakes for building an amazing SMB tech startup. But the other half of it that I wanted to ensure you are focused on is the grit that you need. So even if you build the best product in the world, nobody's going to care on your own, right? If you don't have a brand name to begin with. It's one thing if Google releases some product, yes, it's going to get a lot of attention maybe, but likely even with them, SMB owners are not paying attention, right? They are busy, heads down in their business. If you want your product to succeed, you have to get out there, you have to make the phone calls, you have to get hung up on, you have to send the emails, you have to walk into places, whatever you need to do. I highly recommend you pushing yourself. Be willing to embarrass yourself, be willing to do whatever it takes to get your product into as many hands as possible. Because if you believe your product adds value to their business, then you have the responsibility to call their attention to your product, interrupt their day, and let them get that information that they wouldn't have had otherwise. So that's it. Hopefully I didn't go too fast for you guys. I don't know if there's time for Q&A. I've been sharing my whole screen right now, so I can't really see what's going on, but I really appreciate your time. Feel free to DM me on LinkedIn or tweet at me, and I'd be happy to answer additional questions. And that's it for me. Thank you so much.